Hello everyone, welcome to the video. And no, I will not be talking about San Diego Comic-Con, completely more so focusing on New York City Comic-Con, or I should say just New York Comic-Con. So I'll be reviewing essentially my experience with StreetPass Live Meetup for the whole 3DS StreetPass stuff. So, was it a good time? Yes and no. We have to go through some things very objectively, the positives, the things that could improve, and what I think that could ultimately how it would improve, right? So, let's get into it. All right, so first day, I was really exhausted. I had a bit of jet lag arriving from the train. I didn't sleep very well. I was exhausted. And I have to say, it was my first time back to New York Comic Con over 9 years. The last time I was in Comic Con was 2015. And let me just state for the record that my first convention that I ever gone to for video games was in fact New York Comic Con. It was not PAX. So New York Comic Con essentially set the precedence for Street Pass. And why you say this? Because I had over 1,000 tags on my original. Unfortunately, my original handheld was sold from my twin brother because he needed money. Thank you, Robert. But anyway, point being is that I had a lot of tags on that system and a lot of tags that were really great for New York Comic Con. So I had very low expectations going into this convention. I did try to initially submit a panel. Unfortunately, the convention staff did not think that it would be feasible with their scheduling, and they said instead, let's do a meetup. And I was like, you know what? Why not? We'll do a meetup instead of a panel instead. So let's see how this goes. So I go ahead with this meetup, and how does it go? It goes pretty well. First Saturday and Sunday, I got around 30 tags for both days, so about around 60 me's, up to 70 tags, because some people were multiple tags, and some of them were for the Nintendo New York store. So Nintendo New York got me a couple of tags. That was a great event in itself. So if you're asking, Nintendo did not go to New York Comic Con, and it's a bit disappointing to be upfront. Like, I didn't expect Nintendo to be there anyway. Once they had left in 2013 and that was their last year, they basically never came back. Technically, they were for Yokai Watch, but I really don't count that as Nintendo. That's level 5. Nintendo's team did help support Yokai Watch, but it just wasn't Nintendo. That was in 2015. And so the only game you could really play was Monster Hunter. Right. So Monster Hunter was mainly the Monster Hunter Wilds. And I'll say this, for a demo, it was great. I love the line specifically. The line was very small. That's the one major point of advantage I have to give New York Comic Con for New York Comic Con when it comes to the way that this convention was held, right? They did an exemplary job with the line and with all that situation. That was great. The SpongeBob panel on Friday, it's probably the best panel I'll ever go to in my entire life. Unless something better comes along the way, we'll see. But I have to say, watching the cast basically reenact one of the scenes from Band Geeks and a couple of other things, I think it was Scaredy Pants, where SpongeBob is dressed as the Flying Dutchman, but he's really in like a ghost sheet. That was great. Huge props to that. Fantastic. Um, Unfortunately, we do have to talk about some of the shortcomings of Comic Con, and I think it just goes to show that eventually over time, Comic Con, like any convention, it starts to hit some progression snags because having a convention like this go on for years and years has the unfortunate, and I mean unfortunate, extremely unfortunate aspect of becoming stale. And there are things that I found during this convention to be a bit of a disappointment, and some aspects that just leave me like wondering what, like confused. Such aspect was when asking to host the meetup was understanding the space. Now, if for those who don't know, when you're asked to do something for a convention, they basically give you a badge and they're like, "This is your time slot, do what you can. And if you have any questions, that's it." So it's a little tricky to tell when and what specifically is required. There were things on my end that I try to do with what I was given. And mind you, it's my first meetup at Comic Con. So mistakes are unfortunately going to be made. And I'm not saying just on my end, on both ends. So if you're wondering what I didn't understand, Apparently, there was supposed to be this little link code that you were supposed to get. I had never got it. Luckily, the staff at Comic Con were very helpful with that. However, there was a miscommunication issue when it came to knowing where the meetup was supposed to be held. Luckily, it wasn't so far off, but it was still a bit of a distraction where it was like, unfortunately, it makes it hard for me to advertise my meetup. Um, Now, if I have to give a huge point in New York Comic Con's direction over San Diego Comic Con, and San Diego Comic Con failed. I'm sorry, this failed miserably with StreetPass because there was supposed to be a StreetPass event that was supposed to be at a StreetPass lounge, right? So this StreetPass lounge, right, was supposed to happen at San Diego Comic Con, but all it was a bunch of picnic tables and chairs. And while I was pretty much expecting that same kind of picnic tables and chairs for New York Comic Con, with San Diego Comic Con, when you're being told it's a lounge, it's like you cannot say a lounge when a lounge is supposed to be more like, a couch and a sofa and more comfortable. Like it's supposed to be warm and inviting. Like I want to go and step inside a lounge. I do not want to sit at a bunch of picnic tables and chairs. That's to me is not much of a lounge. The biggest issue when it came to San Diego Comic Con, so I did not host that event for the to be up front. I did not host San Diego Comic Con event, although I was told about it by someone. And so that someone told me, oh, hey, could you promote this event? I'm like, okay, let me do some research. And I did. And I found out that it was in this particular area of the expo hall. And I went in and I found out. Then I waited there for over an hour and no one showed up. And that was really disparaging. So taking that low bar failure expectations from San Diego Comic Con, I basically ushered it into New York, and I was like, okay, New York, let's see if you can beat San Diego. And lo and behold, they did. Mostly because New York Comic Con at least understood, and this is going by the bare bones objectiveness of what New York Comic Con executed properly. They knew how to advertise about the meetup without me having to do a ton of legwork. And look, guys, I'm not Chugga Conroy. I'm not Jacksepticeye. I'm not Markiplier. I'm not these guys that have large fan bases. If I were these people, then I could have thousands upon thousands of people coming to this convention for Comic Con to this meetup that I submitted, and that's why I make this content to help Street Pass still be a thing even years later. And that's the important thing when it comes to channels is that you can never stay the same forever. But even if you're going to have core aspects from your beginning of your channel, you just hope that people are going to sub and like and comment to be supportive of that. So that way that this Street Pass concept can still be executed properly and be done wonderfully. And it's sad when, unfortunately, you've been on this platform for 13 years and there's a lot of aspects of, unfortunately, YouTube that are not executed properly, no matter how hard you work, that hurts your progress. And, I'll say this. While I did expect that New York Comic Con was going to have some kind of like growing pains getting Street Pass back into the limelight, that being said, they've already exceeded my expectation of outdoing San Diego because San Diego failed with it, whatever meetup that was. It was just kind of disappointing. I don't know if there was a communication issue on that end, and that's all I have to say. You ask yourself if Street Pass is to come back, how is this supposed to be executed properly? And New York already did great with just that alone. Now, unfortunately, there was miscommunication issue from the staff. A lot of the staff is volunteer, unfortunately, which I feel kind of bad for them because they probably have to put up with a lot. But when you ask for a meetup and you ask them, hey, do you know where the side quest meetup is? And then they tell you a vicinity, but they don't tell you the exact location, that hurts your ability to do your panelist position or panelist meetup. I was given a panelist badge to host this meetup, and the other aspect that's a bit disappointing is that when you're a panelist, you're basically treated like general attendance, and it's just be grateful you have a free badge, go and do your meetup, and get out. And it's like, I want a little more recognition for that. Now, despite these shortcomings, is this necessarily failure? No, far from it. It's not about failure. It's about the success we had at this meetup, and it's about paving way for future success. So if New York Comic Con and Reed Pop and all these pieces are listening, it's like, look, if there's a clamoring for Street Pass, then you need to give the people, such as i.e. myself and the others, access to the resources that they need in order to do a bit better job, a little bit beyond just the badge. The badge is partly help. It's like, okay, this is great. This is wonderful. Now we just need a little bit more. And if you're asking me what would I like, uh, access to the VIP lounge would actually have been helpful. So the big aspect of that is that I couldn't charge any of my laptop or my stuff. Everything had to come pre-charged and ready for the event. Now, what is the problem with that? So I wanted to live stream that event, and there were a lot of technical issues that I had to fight and struggle on my own. And unfortunately, if I had a question, they were like, "Well, you're on your own." It's like, well, that's a problem because now it makes it harder for me to do this, that, and the other thing that I'm trying to help for this meetup that I ultimately asked and submitted that you asked that I do, and people want. And it's like, I know I'm the middle management person, right? Like, I'm the person that represents the audience that wants Street Pass, and yet at the same time represents the convention people host to make both parties happy. And I did the best I could, and I'm happy with what we were able to accomplish. That being said, I want better for next year. And that's ultimately the point of this video. So, anybody who came to my meetup, I really ask that you email ReadPop letting them know how wonderful of a time that you had and that ultimately you want this to happen next year and to give a little bit more support to the people that are hosting the meetups. Let me just tell you, on much of a shoestring budget, I basically did. All I got from the Comic Con was the badge and nothing else. So I had to pay for my own food, I had to pay for this, I had to pay for this, I had to pay for this. All of that came out of my own pocket. Or I had to ask a friend for help to even get to the convention center. So that was the other thing I had to struggle with. The other thing is just like I just want to be able to put on the best show that I can. And I would have liked a panel. Like I'm not going to say that I wasn't disappointed by the lack of panel, but I was a little bit. I know that I'm not going to have the same level of treatment at PAX that I'm going to get at Comic Con, right? PAX is going to do an amazing job with helping me out. They were great. Unlike SoCal Gaming Expo, which unfortunately was a bit of a letdown. You basically just walked into the panel room and you did everything yourself. It's like, could you at least have an enforcer helping me out here? Comic Con was a bit of that, unfortunately. Like we did not have much of help. We had to do everything our own, right? So I think there was one person I really wanted to thank, and it was Sean who came up to me and he said, "Hey Nick, you don't want to be by yourself. You want to actually go to your meetup, right?" And I was like, "Thank you," because I didn't know where the heck I was. And he helped me during the video, and it was very helpful. And it's just a shame that despite me having to do all of this with such little help, that it's like you look at it and you're like, well, how can we make this better? And that's just like the main takeaway of this video. And that's why I ask again, my audience members to like, comment, and subscribe to help promote my content. I know I don't make the best content on the platform, but the point of my content is to ultimately promote Street Pass and gaming. And whether it is all Street Pass or even my other stuff, which is Five Nights at Freddy's and other stuff that I'm doing, it's because I have to make that right. Economy thrives on money. That's just the evil of life that we can't live with. And if I make more money on my channel and I make more money to be able to provide for myself, because I have to put food on my plate, food on this, to be able to then go to these conventions, then people need to come out to support me by helping me watch my videos, liking, commenting, subscribing, and giving feedback by being helpful. And and most importantly, being positive. Look, we can all be negative about things, but remember that how you're negative with something speaks a thousandfold on how someone's going to help you back. Because if you're just bitter and vitriolic, no one wants to help you. So, and that's what I want to also get across in this video is I just want to be as most positive and as like reassuringly feedback wise when it comes to the content that I make and how I make my content because at the end of the day, while I am thankful that New York Comic Con did a great job of giving me the badge, there were things that I wish that they could do that could help me. And I hope that at the end of the day, that people that want StreetPass to be represented, I thank those people for helping me represent StreetPass and represent their interest in StreetPass. And if they want that to come back to conventions, they have to support my channel. They have to do that. They have to, it's like actively voting with your wallet by voting with your time. And if you don't do that, then I can't do anything. Because if I don't make money to pay my bills, if I don't do this, if I don't do that, then I can't go back to these conventions. And if these videos don't get views and don't get this, then I can't do anything. And look, I can only do so much on my end to make things meet. But it's like we live almost in a debt-based society where you can't buy your groceries 100%. You can only buy them 50% to buy this 50% to it's like you pay your phone bill by the bare minimum to only have more interest go up on it, to have paid this more interest going up in it. And look guys, I want this to matter. I want StreetPass to matter. I want this to come back every year. And that's why I'm telling you in these videos to let Repot know how awesome of a job I'm doing for StreetPass. And that's all I ask. So, and I will do that as passionately and as positively that I can because I want this to count. I want StreetPass to come back. I want Nintendo to see that StreetPass matters. And that's all I ask. So, I know I feel like a broken record half the time, but and more importantly, I want San Diego. Like, San Diego deserves a better StreetPass experience. San Diego deserves better for StreetPass. If New York Comic Con can do better, so can San Diego. And if New York Comic Con outdid San Diego Comic Con and StreetPass all because I showed up, that shows how much, very little, that needs to get done in order for something like this fan community to be represented. So, anyway, guys, like, comment, subscribe. I will leave a link below with ReadPop. Guys, be very positive. That's all I ask. Give them reassuring information, letting them know how much you loved the meetup, how much you want better for them in the future, so that we can pave it forward. And please be positive. That's all I ask. But anyway, guys, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!